and welcome along to another episode. And for this episode we're talking cables, speaker cables and interconnects. What's an interconnect? Well, it's one of these. We all know these. When you buy a CD player or cassette deck or radio tuner or similar, you get one of these in a box. Fairly insubstantial, but they do their job, and that's essentially what they're there for. So you can get the sound from that object into the amplifier. Now, are you happy with these? Do you use them? Or do you prefer something a bit more substantial? Like, I don't know, maybe these? Or do you go further? Do you pay something like £30 upwards for your interconnects? I remember when I was about 18, it was 1990 or 1991, I had a friend and he kitted out his system with a load of these. These were sold in Tandy, in America, known as Radio Shack. And I think they were £10 for a stereo pair, 24k gold-plated plugs and substantial black cables. And he had them all, literally every component connected with those, and proudly on display. And I thought, how sad. And I'll be honest, I never saw the point. I thought, well, a cable is a cable, copper is copper. If it transmits an electrical signal of about 2 volts, well, it does the job. Why pay silly money, 40, 50, 60 quid on cables? But he did so, and I have to be honest, in years later, I succumbed. I mean, for example, in the past I've used one of these. This is the Cambridge Audio Arctic Interconnect in blue and with gold-plated plugs. And the last one I used was one of these. This is the AudioQuest Jade. This was it was £30 for a metre or 28 for a half metre, so I had the half metre length in between the CD player and the amplifier. Because we're led to believe that, if you're using these, insubstantial cables, you're somehow missing out. And let me just take that one away. I mean, you think this is bad? Have a look at this. God, this is retro. This is 1980s. Very filthy looking. Again, from Tandy or Radio Shack if you're American. But it did the job. It's got a left and a right at either end. You plug it in, it does its job. And, I was always happy with these, but of course, there must have been that little devil sat on my shoulder saying, you could be missing out. You could be, wringing that extra little bit of clarity out of your, your CD listening. If you move up to, a more meaty cable, spend 30 quid at least. Well, in this day and age, I don't really bother with that. I mean, as far as I go, is this one. I mean, these can be bought on the internet, about £3 or £4. It's a pretty bog standard design. You can get with all kinds of brand names on. And, they claim to be OFC, oxygen-free copper, which is supposed to have superior electrical transmission. And, well, they're not that thick. I mean, compared to the bit of string that comes in the box, as some people refer to it. A little bit thicker. And, to be honest, I'm quite happy with this. Thank you very much. And yes, I do use these for the CD player, the tuner, a couple for the tape deck, a couple for the mini disc deck, and they do what they should do. And I can hear enough detail. I don't feel this need to go spending silly money on exotic cables, because having used them in the past, as I said, the Cambridge Audio one and the Audio Quest one. I mean, Audio Quest, some of their cables go for hundreds, thousands even. And, people will happily pay those hundreds and possibly thousands, And, well, hell, it's their money. And then there's speaker cables. I mean, at the moment I use this type. This is pretty general. It's a bi-wire cable, because my speakers are bi-wireable in that they have two sets of terminals on the back, one set for the woofer, one for the tweeter, and you can have double the cable run, obviously paired off at the amplifier end, but separated into 4 plugs at the speaker end. And it was kind of the fashion in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it seems to be falling out of fashion at the moment, bi-wire, and that is because these days a lot of speakers tend to come with the single, with just the 2 terminals at the back. So I think I somehow got it into their heads that bi-wiring, well, it's just an excuse to get us to pay double for our speaker cables. I mean, this is nothing exotic. This is about £1.50 a metre. And, 10 metres of that, 5 metres in between each speaker and the amplifier, £15. That's about as far as I wish to go. And you've got cable companies again, Audio Quest, QED, and they sell all these lovely, silver-plated copper anniversary edition, £6.49 per metre. Well, that's about £65 to wire up my speakers, and double that if I want to bi-wire them. £130. No, I haven't got that to spare. I shall stick with this. Now, whereas I've said that, to my ears, funky interconnects don't seem to make a difference in terms of sound quality, my ears are able to hear the difference when it comes to speaker cable. Years ago, I was using JPW mini monitor speakers with a Cambridge audio amplifier, and I was using their lowest quality 105 strand Richer Sounds speaker cable, and it was sufficient until something made me think, I wonder if trading up to a thicker cable will bring improvements. So I did trade up to their Meteor 315 strand cable, and to my ears I was hearing a more bigger, ploddier, clumsier bass, and I thought, I don't actually like this. And so I went back to the thinner 105 strand cable. And then in about 1998, I used to take the What Hi-Fi magazine every month, and they were singing the praises of this cable by a company called Cable Talk, and in particularly their 3.1 model cable, and about £5 a metre. And it was getting rave reviews, and something in me just snapped. I thought, yes, okay, I'll give it a try. £5 a metre. 3 metres aside, that's £30. Okay, here we go. And I've got this Cable Talk 3.1, connected it up, and what a revelation. The bass was well controlled, and treble, well, it was nice and clear without sounding harsh. And whereas with the Richer Sounds cable, vocals, especially rather sharp sounding vocals, could grate on the ear, but with the Cable Talk cable, it was just wonderful. It was listenable, it was gorgeous, and I could understand it. I thought, well, all 3 of these cables contain copper, what gives? And this cable was directional. You had to connect it a certain way. It's got arrows printed all along it, so you have to have the arrows run from the amplifier to the speaker. Call it quackery if you like, I don't know. And yeah, it was good enough. And when I first put together this system I've got at the moment, I'll confess I was using bog standard PA speaker cable, suitable for discos. And it was your standard, like 1mm core. It was a black cable with a red and white core inside. And that was very bass heavy and very poor treble. So I guess, that's suitable for, PA and disco outputs, where fat bass is the norm, but it's not all that good for hi-fi listening. So I decided to switch to proper speaker cable, and this one, I don't know what brand name it is, maybe it's available under different brands, but this is 1mm core. To Americans that's 18 AWG, American wire gauge, and it does the job. I don't feel this needs to go spending more. I mean, even though I do believe that, your choice of speaker cable, well, to my ears it makes a difference, but if you're using the thinnest bell wire and it sounds fine to you, then what's wrong with using the finest bell wire? If you cannot hear improvements between a cheap cable and an expensive cable, then just don't spend the money. You certainly don't need people saying, oh, look, you're not paying attention, you're missing something. There are those who, really claim to, there's probably people thinking that I'm an idiot for, being able to hear the difference between various speaker cables, but, somehow I can. And the same with single wiring versus bi-wiring. Believe it or not, my ears, they're 46 years old, they don't hear higher than 14 kilohertz anymore, and yet, for some reason, they are able to hear the difference between single wiring and bi-wiring. I cannot explain it, I just hear it. And, there are many people out there who will spend 5-figure sums on cables and do all kinds of crazy shenanigans, like those cables mustn't touch the floor because that will degrade the sound quality, and have these little like hockey pucks or pylons or like those curling stones propping up the wires in between the speakers and the amplifiers. Or they're out there, they truly believe, and it's their money, so who the hell are we to take it away from them? But I've never felt the need to go that far. But as I've said, if you're happy using the thinnest bell wire or just like AC mains cable, whether it's the thin variety that goes in a lamp, lamp cord, or the thicker variety that was, I don't know, for a washing machine, if you're using that, or hell, if you're using wire coat hangers, if it does it for you, then good on you. It's your system, your ears, what you can hear, and, if you're able to hear the difference between cheapo cables and something a bit more exotic and pricey, then okay, you pays your money, you takes your choice. But I just thought I'd share, my experience. I don't have anything against using this bit of string that came in the box. I had it rolled up nice and wonderful there. Hang on, let's try that again, off camera. Maybe it'll work. Too much of a perfectionist. There we go. Stay. But maybe I've got a devil sitting on my shoulder encouraging me to use these. Okay, I'll choose half metre lengths because I don't actually need longer. The distance between let's say the tuner and the amplifier isn't that great. Why have a metre and a half, 2 metre cable length when a ½ metre is all I need? You know, that's the only reason I go shorts. And yes, they've got gold-plated connectors. I mean, that helps, you know, prevent corrosion, if nothing else, but does it improve the sound? I don't think so. Just does its job. And, you know, all those funky cables, well, they're out there, and it's up to you. And that really is all I have to say on this matter. But, you know, if you wish to share your side, there's a comment section below, you know, so please comment, like, share this video, pass it on. And don't forget, there's a Patreon facility. Sorry to bang on about this, but I'm still waiting on some patrons. So if you wish to become a patron and set up a monthly pledge, that will be most wonderful. You'll be thanked in every video, and, well, it will be appreciated. Okay, thank you for watching.